Welcome to the meeting of full council, Penrith Town Council. I'm Councillor Doug Lawson and I'm the Chair of Penrith Town Council. Just a quick reminder for those present, the meeting is being recorded, but not by the Town Council. If members of the public do not wish to be filmed or recorded, please can you let us know now, and I can get Mr. Davis to turn his camera on if necessary. Anybody fussed about being filmed? No? Okay. Just to let you know, we don't record or live stream the meetings, but we do support the principles of openness and transparency, and we've got no problems with it being recorded for any of our meetings, really. Just in terms of housekeeping, we're not expecting a fire alarm tonight, so if one goes off, it's actually a real fire. Exits there and there, and just congregate outside. And if anybody needs the loos, they're just through that door. So with that done, I think we'll get on to our business. So first of all, apologies for absence. As far as I'm aware, we haven't received any.
Yeah, Hillary Snow apologised. She has COVID.
Okay. Would you wish her well for us as well?
Thanks.
Okay. So just a show of hands to note that we've not got any other apologies received other than that. Item 2 is the minutes. To note that the minutes from the following committees have been circulated and published on the council website since the last ordinary meeting. Planning Committee on the 4th of September and Finance Committee on the 18th of September. And then item B, just to confirm the full council minutes, I'd like to propose that we approve the minutes of the meeting of the council held on Monday the 17th of July. Are members happy to agree for them to be signed by me as a correct record? Okay. So item 3, declaration of interest and request for dispensations. I'm not aware of any that we've received. Does anybody have any declarations that they need to make? You can either do it now or you can mention it when we get to the specific item, if that's preferable. No? Okay. Nice and straightforward. So item 4 is public participation.
No items in the council meeting.
Westmoreland and Furness councillors, would any of you like to provide an update? Can't see who there is. I'll take Virginia and then Tricia first.
Good evening. Thank you. So I've just got a couple of matters of interest, perhaps, to draw to your attention. One of them is the compact between Calc, representing yourselves, and Westmoreland and Furness Council. So this was actually has been agreed by Calc at the executive meeting on the 6th of September, so I do hope you approve. It's coming to Westmoreland and Furness Cabinet on the 6th of, I've got it here somewhere, shortly, 18th of October, excuse me. So this compact is called Building Safe and Strong Communities and sets out the principles of collaboration between town and parish councillors, Calc, and Westmoreland and Furness Council. And this was co-produced with Calc. Informal discussions have taken place over, 18 months or so, I suppose. And in November last year, there was an initial survey sent out to all of you, all of you meaning town and parish councils, and your views relate in terms of relationship with the new council. There were 49 responses, which means there was a 39% response rate, which apparently is good. And then there was a workshop in February. I don't know if any of you attended. It was attended by 80 parish council reps. And this compact, I mean, I'm very pleased with it. It's genuinely co-produced. I think it's clear and sets out a positive and comprehensible way forward. And as I said, it's coming to Westmoreland and Furness Cabinet on the 18th of October. And so I don't know if you noticed, already approved on the 12th of September Cabinet, there were two policies. One is the disposal policy for assets which are no longer needed by Westmoreland and Furness Council, and also the community asset transfer policy, which perhaps would be of interest to yourselves. Now these policies build on Cumbria County Council's policies, but we have made sure that those developed attention to social value and somewhat eased timescales. The disposal policy equally establishes the circumstances in which an asset may be disposed of at less than market value. And I don't know if you've seen those already. I did sort of, just in case there's a link, because it is in there somewhere, but it's difficult to find. So I sent Ian a link to it earlier. So watch this space, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bell?
Thank you. Three things to mention. Now Westmoreland and Furness have agreed their 21 an hour policy and set aside a small amount of money to get started. There's the chance to progress that, and certainly in Penrith North, Mark and I did a survey last year, and there was overwhelming support from the people who returned the survey, and there was a good return, for 20 miles an hour in the centre of town and in the New Streets area. We have asked if we can progress to the more formal stage in our part of town. I remember that the town council was very keen to promote 20 miles an hour as well. And so when the time comes, I would really, really appreciate your support. And clearly, you know, it would be a formal process with a formal consultation, lots of draft plans and ideas, so plenty of time to have conversations. Secondly, I note your intention to renew your climate and biodiversity strategy, and the possibility of Westmoreland and Furness councillors being involved. This is something which is very high on Westmoreland and Furness councillors' agenda, and many of us recently attended the Carbon Zero event in Carlisle. Councillor Giles Archibald might be a good contact for you, because he set up lots of cross-party working groups on this, that and the other, and he may well have some useful contacts for you. Thirdly, work is underway to look at the possibility of extending the town bus service to start early in the morning and finish early in the evening. The idea is to look at what would be needed, how many buses, how many drivers, and approximately what would it cost. Well, why are we looking now? Well, the new bus route for the town service isn't able to take in all the places that it went to before. And having looked with MBM at whether it be possible to go back to the original service, it's not looking like that. Town is so busy, it takes the bus an awful long time to get round. So, okay, why not look at a different service? Secondly, there are many developments coming in, housing developments in Penrith North, and if all those people drive their cars through the town centre, it will be even more clogged up than it is now. And Westmoreland and Furness has an ambition to support bus services. The new council can only fund gaps in service. So looking at what we've got at the moment, there's a gap first thing in the morning and there's a gap in the evening. Maybe we can work with partners on this. Maybe a full service would indeed be commercially viable. It might not be possible to do this, but until we've got the information, then we're not going to know whether it might be possible. So as soon as I've got more details, I'd be very happy to share that with the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Riles? No?
Sorry, I'm not in the government. I don't have any more information than you, quite honestly.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Chair, are we allowed to ask a question or not?
Briefly, yes.
Briefly, yes. for Patricia, the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit stuff, how do we coordinate sort of all our inputs?
Can I just say, any informal and formal consultations will come to us, and you've got one on your next planning committee agenda. So as they come through, they'll go on your planning committee agenda.
Okay, brilliant.
And I think you too have direct contact with Laura, who would be the key officer that we will be working with. So we will share the same officer.
Super. The planning committee. Great.
Okay, item 5 then is to talk about excluded items. Members are asked to consider whether any agenda item should be considered without the presence of the press and public, pursuant to section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960 because of the confidential nature of the business. The proposed items that we take into part 2 are items 16 and 17. Item 16 refers to some commercially sensitive and legal information, which needs to stay that way for now. And item 17 is related to staffing. So I would like to propose that we move those 2 items into part 2 business. Right, somebody second that. Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. And then we need to have a vote, please. So all those in favour? Any against? Okay, that's carried. Okay. So that moves us then on to new matters for public interest. The first one is a motion on notice regarding DVLA services at the post offices, which is a motion on notice from Councillor Bowen. I'd like to invite Councillor Bowen to present the motion and move it.
Thank you. I'm not sure how many people are actually aware of this, but the DVLA has indicated that it is not going to renew its contract with the post offices for renewal of road fund, tax and driving licences. This will be a great disadvantage for many people, particularly in a community like ours. Yes, lots of people will say, oh, I've got internet access. But what they mean is they can access the internet on their phone, and that is not sufficient to fill in any sort of application form. So it will discriminate against people who are digitally disadvantaged. I think that's the correct phrase. And possibly, I might be stereotyping here, but it generally will be the more older members of the population. It will reduce the business for post office. It will reduce the footfall in our town because people come in to do a transaction like that at the post office, and while they're here, they go and buy something else. So my motion is that we write a strong letter of objection to the DVLA and to the Ministry of Transport, who, when I checked, when I put in the motion, was Mark Harper. Might be somebody else by now, but we will check that before any letter is sent. And I would like members' approval, please.
Okay. So you're moving that motion. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Moon. So, anybody got any questions or comments? Councillor Names?
No, I just comment that the council a few months ago passed a very similar motion about the closure of the ticket office at the railway station for the very same reasons.
Yes.
And I think if we went along with the arguments that time, it's exactly the same arguments. It disadvantages exactly the same groups of people and takes away a valuable asset from the town.
Councillor Holm?
Yeah, just for clarity really. Do we know if there's an alternative to the post office
No.
doing this? The
No.
DVLA haven't put up any other.
No. It's a further example of reducing personal contact in order to fulfil our legal requirements beyond the road.
Right, thank you. I just wondered.
It's just that I think just as important as asking to reconsider would be also the how, that, you know, how digitally excluded residents are expected to meet, because it's one thing to actually, you know, to say we disagree with this,
Yes.
but actually that's a more important question to say, you know, what is your alternative?
Yes, how do you expect people to do
No,
this?
that,
Yes.
there isn't one anyway, but,
Yes,
to highlight that.
yes, the point needs making. Thank you, Councillor Donald. Yes.
It's a
Yeah, yeah, but to emphasise that, I mean, to actually make that a really important part of it. Yeah.
Any other comments? Questions? All those in favour? Any against? No. Thank you, it's carried. The second motion on notice is operation of the Penrith Lottery. To consider the motion on notice from Councillor Naggs. I'd like to invite Councillor Naggs to present the motion and move it.
Thank you. This is a proposal to fully and comprehensively investigate the advantages and disadvantages of the new Penrith Lottery becoming organised under the governance of the Town Council, and to make after investigating it, to make a report and a recommendation to a full council meeting at some later date. This is not a proposal to take over the lottery. The issue of the possible Town Council governance of the lottery was instigated by the Penrith Lottery Committee after they reviewed their operations and subsequently expressed its openness to collaborate with the PTC in exploring the whole of this issue. And there is a member of the committee here tonight to hear the debate, so I'm sure could confirm that position if it needed to be confirmed. I make that point emphatically because I've got to emphasise that these points because there was a wholly misleading headline that appeared last Friday on a local news media Facebook page which said, Town Council eyes lucky numbers with plan to take over the Penrith Lottery. For goodness sake, how could we have a plan to take over the lottery when this is the first time it's ever been discussed at the Town Council? And this undermines the whole democratic process by putting misinformation into the public and getting a negative reaction before it's even been considered. It isn't even a recommendation to take over it, it's an investigation to see if it's a good idea. There are currently 97 councils and 234 charities running lotteries already, 421 altogether, very small lotteries. So I asked the Town Council to agree on an investigation into the issue to ensure that the future of the Penrith Lottery is secure and continues to thrive. A thorough investigation will lead to a well-informed decision about what would be the best outcome for the future of the lottery. If the PTC agrees tonight in considering this issue, we must remain absolutely open to the fact that we may conclude that we should not get involved. And of course the Lottery Committee may also conclude for the same or different reasons that we shouldn't proceed with it. But in considering this issue, I think the first step would be for officers and councillors to pull together a scoping document to structure a thorough investigation, which could ask questions of why the Lottery Committee feel that this is the appropriate moment to look at this, the legislative context in which it would operate, the costings in terms of staff time and resources, the impact on PTC and its work, the various models of operation that could be utilised to run the lottery, what might be the unintended consequences, what might happen if the existing lottery, if we don't decide to go ahead with the existing lottery and they want us to. All the income would be awarded to grants to voluntary organisations. Therefore, would it be advantage or disadvantage to combine the grant-giving organisations of the Town Council and the lottery? But to emphasise, whatever happens, the direction of the lottery, the whole income will continue to be awarded in grants to support local community groups. So, the motion is to recommend that we have an investigation to and collaborate with the Lottery Committee to look at the future governance of the scheme. Thanks.
Who's seconding? Are you seconding?
I am.
I'm going to do something just a tiny little bit different than usual. We'll do all the usual questions for anybody that's got things to say, but I'd also like to get a view from the staff if I can at the end as well, because I think it's important to understand from their point of view what it's going to look like. Although, as you said, we are only talking about investigation at this stage. So, anybody questions or comments?
Yeah,
Councillor Jason.
sorry. Yeah, I just have a question. Is with all the other stuff that we've got going on, does this sort of fall into our top 10? I'm just worried about the time it's going to take. We've got potentially 2 unfinished routes with work streams. Is this going to divert our attention?
An investigation will lead to a conclusion about what that might look like, but there are various models of running the lottery. There are companies that run lotteries for organisations. For example, our near neighbour in Allerdale in Lakeland, the one promoted by the Cumberland Council, I believe they have an outside company that runs many of the lotteries that I mentioned here tonight, and therefore it takes a very little time. But I think that it would be fair to say that the investigation would answer that question. Is it a priority? Why is it a priority? And how much time would it take?
I was going to just add on to that, because I think you were asking about the capacity to do the investigation.
Is that the
capacity to do it?
Yeah.
So I was probably going to pick up on that at the end, but do you want to pick it in and respond now?
We might as well respond.
Yeah, so from a staff perspective, obviously, Council has referred to a thorough investigative document scoping out the pros, cons, disadvantages, and we would endorse that as staff. So we would see that a process of due diligence was required, in effect, the business case being prepared for the full motion as proposed. We would view that proposal is supported tonight, that we sit down with council and our officers to scope out all the areas that needs to go in that investigative document, and ensure then that that document is circulated around to all councillors for input to in effect confirm those areas or pick up on the areas that we've missed, with a view that then the research and the business case would commence. Staff capacity would have to be an issue to be considered, because as you rightly referred to, as you know, we are staff capacity down, and we do have other priorities that are still to be delivered that's been agreed at previous meetings. And I think as part of that scoping document, we would have to set a realistic timescale to come back to council.
So could I raise a sort of, is it an addendum to the motion? Could we perhaps wait until Ian and his colleagues have sort of assessed whether they do have capacity?
Well, I think, to be honest, that would probably come out whether you approve what occurs at the vote tonight, and then that would come at the next step when we would sit down and that scoping document and circulate it to members, agreeing a realistic timescale looking at our future meeting dates. I think that's to be taken into consideration is what timescales is the lottery set and do its own investigation to its future delivery. We need to understand that. Yeah. We just need to be sensible if we approve it, how we resource it.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I think I'll go and visit Carlisle United tomorrow, have talks, and suggest next month that we take over Carlisle United. I don't know where this ludicrous idea has come from. There is no mandate for this proposal. No one around this table had the power or authority to enter into any conversation with Penrith Lottery. Penrith Town Council has set responsibilities, core services, and running a lottery is not one of them. Penrith Lottery states on its website it has weekly draws. The last draw was August 16th, 6 weeks ago. In the last month, it has only given out £9,000 in grants. Penrith Lottery has no Information Commissioner's Office registration. Penrith Lottery has no General Data Protection Registration Policy. Penrith Lottery stores Penrith Lottery stores personal information on third-party software. If Penrith Town Council took over Penrith Lottery, there is potential of financial and GDPR breach liabilities. On the advantages quoted, we profile reputation, language engagement, civic pride. There are none. There are no advantages. More a question of which one would drag the other down even further. The claim would streamline absolute nonsense. Penrith Town Council and Penrith Lottery operate two totally different boundaries. Either the lottery would have to reduce its 5 mile catchment area, thereby losing members in places like Plumpton and Llanwakby, or the Town Council would have to expand its borders to take in Plumpton, Llanwakby and even Pooley Bridge. Otherwise, it's going to mean two different sets of grants covering two different areas, which equals total confusion. Increase PT's grant funding, more nonsense. This is a serious point now. Lotteries operated by a local authority are governed by a different set of rules. As a local authority, Penrith Town Council would have to apply to the Gaming Commission to obtain a new lottery licence. That then requires a local authority running a lottery to employ a person to have overall management control. That's a new appointment. The Gambling Commission calls for a senior manager who is licensed. Penrith Town Council does not have such a licensed officer. So that's the claimed £30,000 which would come into PTC coffers to increase grant funding, gone are new staff costs. I propose the Town Council rejects this no mandate proposal. PTC, Penrith Town Council, should be concentrating on its core, its resources, on its core functions, not creating a lottery albatross around its neck. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Holden and then Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. I was a little bit personally a bit disturbed about this because it is a sort of gambling look at what we do as a town council. I don't think it really matches with what the town council stands for. So that's what I'm a bit worried about. I don't know how many people are members of the Penrith Lottery. I did look up on the lottery website, but there wasn't much information forthcoming about that kind of information. All right, streamline separate grant giving organisations. I mean, we've already seen in our financial papers that we've got under 6,000, I think, left in our grant fund, not allocated yet. How is this going to help if we get more money, and how are people going to differentiate? Is the lottery going to be managed separately to the town council grant fund? Well, there are lots and lots of questions I have about this, and I'm uncertain at this stage about pursuing it.
Just to pick up on a point that you made there, and I think Councillor Thompson made as well, we do struggle to give away the money that we have at the moment, and I do wonder whether having more money would help, or whether it might actually put off some of the people that don't think that they want to apply to a council that might apply to the lottery. You might actually end up with another pot of money that nobody was claiming. I don't know. Councillor Jackson.
Yes, I don't think I have enough information to form an opinion on whether the town council running the lottery is a good thing or a bad thing. But the point of this motion is to try and find out that information. We're not tagging ourselves to anything just yet. And I'm curious that if a member of this council doesn't have, in inverted commas, a mandate to listen to something from the community and bring it to the council, then none of us have a mandate to listen to anything and bring it to the council. I mean, that's how this works, isn't it? We hear things from residents and local organisations, and if we, no, I'm not quite finished, then what is the point of any democratic organisation?
Yeah, what's the point?
I can see the advantages of this, and I'm interested in doing this, but my own view is that it should, as I think Councillor Pearson said, I'm not sure it should be in our top 10 of things to worry about at the moment. I think that if we go ahead with this, we have to have a long time frame, my opinion. One of the things I've been looking at seeing even the scoping exercise done in the next 4 or 6 weeks. Personally.
Just that point that Councillor Thompson and Councillor Holden made, surely the things that any investigation, which is what the motion's about, would discover. That was all.
Well, I felt that it was worth investigating, but I had some reservations as well, mostly around gambling, and the idea that it is kind of like raising, it's not a form of taxation, but it's a kind of stealth raising of money, which is then to be dispensed with in particular ways. And I just wanted to be honest, I am a member, if that's what it is, of the lottery, but I only joined, I didn't want to, because another organisation that I'm a part of insisted that one of the trustees on the board I am was a member in order to be what's the word?
Eligible for
a grant.
Oh, yeah.
So it costs me £100 a month, a year rather. So just in terms of transparency, I'm a member, but I've never won.
And I was about to say exactly the same. I'm a member because the lottery have awarded Pategill Tenants and Residents Association a grant towards our playing field rejuvenation on the condition that we had some new members, and I felt obliged to be one.
Have you got that noted on the organisation?
Just also, is it all right just to put in again?
Yeah.
Just a little note about if all this went ahead, if it did, after any investigation, if that goes ahead. Would the lottery people organisation have an input as to where the grants are allocated? Because I seem to remember from our town council grant application, it was going to, it is, staff members, it's just officers, isn't it? So actually decide where the grant's going to go. So how would that be?
This would be part of it. That would also have to be part of the scope and investigation exercise.
Councillor, thanks very briefly.
I'm just making sure I can come back at the end to answer that.
Does anybody else have anything to say?
I just wanted to further add that I do think that there are certain issues, such as being able to consolidate various mutual interests and ideas, which might be worth looking at, alongside the objections that I felt.
Yeah, I think it's a proposal to look into the idea, but I feel there's issues there that lottery, the public perceives it as a separate thing with the council. It could become a council thing, the lottery thing. Why is the lottery having problems administering it? It's not an issue there. I suppose that's really why it's happening. Why are we asked to do this? Is it because of political issues? Like gambling is an issue, I think there's other issues. These, if we agree to go forward with it, then hopefully these issues will come out in the scope.
Yeah, but just listening to all these comments, this does sound like an incredibly complex exercise. I'm just worried that it's going to sink our venerable colleagues.
I think again, what I didn't add on at the start is that I think if this was to seek approval this evening, we would have to look at the proposal Councillor Knights to lead a lot of the work once that the scoping document has been agreed by through staff, but agreed by all members, so all the areas of investigation have been mapped out, because there is a lot of work, and I think everyone's explained tonight a number of areas that need full research. And it would be very time consuming on staff capacity that we couldn't have, staff capacity issues we couldn't have as well.
I'd like to speak again.
Very briefly.
I just don't think that we should ask the officers to do it. We haven't got the resources. But there's other things on our list, more important things on our list. As I say, if this goes ahead, I'll go and speak to Carlisle United tomorrow and put a proposal next month that we take over Carlisle United.
Councillor Knights, would you like to say something?
Almost every comment tonight would be answered within the investigation. The kind of questions that are being raised are the kind of questions that the investigation would raise, and what we need to come to is a well-informed decision. We've been asked by an important organisation within the community if we would look at this. If we don't look at it, I start to wonder, are we going to have this discussion every time somebody brings a motion or some new work is generated because of the workload? Or are we going to be an open democratic organisation that judges things on the merits of what's being proposed rather than on the resource available to us? Because if we go down that route, we'd have to have the discussion every time. And I accept it will take some time, and I accept that it'll probably be a long time scale. But can I just raise a couple of things that I thought were not right? I don't think we are struggling to give away grants anymore. I asked that question before I brought this motion, and the answer I got was this year we've been very successful in giving away grants, particularly after Lewis attended that grant day. And if you look at how much grant has been given this year, it's proportionately greater than if it was split over 12 months. we've only got 6k left, and what we start with 25, 30k.
So 15k in the grants budget and 20 in signature events.
So we're proportional.
We are on pro rata.
So we're doing quite well. I mean, the fact that 97 councils think it's a good idea, and the government, of course, has got a lottery scheme, but 97 councils think it's a good idea. I'm not saying it is a good idea. I want to find out, and that's the whole purpose of the investigation. And I want to respond to a community organisation that's important to see what the model is. And we may end up with a completely different outcome to what we expect, because we don't know the questions that need to be asked or how they'll be answered. But I think we have a duty as councillors to look at responding to a legitimate request from a community organisation within Penrith.
Thank you, Councillor. So, just to kind of super summarise, we are voting on whether or not we think that it's a good idea to investigate this. We're not voting on whether or not we do it. We're just voting on whether or not we think it's a good idea to investigate it. And I think we've heard some people say they think that's a bad idea because it's going to waste officers' time, and some people have said that they would like to have the investigation so that we can make an informed decision. So that's what we're voting on. So can I ask who is in favour of the initial investigation? Against?
Someone.
One abstention.
So the motion's carried. I think what we'll do is we'll communicate council rights and then move forward. So what we're on next.
Okay.
Could I just ask, what was the vote on that?
8 for, 4 against, 1 abstention.
8-4. 4 against.
8 in favour.
1 abstention.
Can I just, I don't probably not want to, but what's the point of being elected councillor around this table? What's the point of being elected councillor around this table?
Nobody even vote.
Yeah.
We all voted. We had a vote.
We had our say.
We move on to the next agenda item.
You're proposed by somebody who wasn't elected.
We need to move on. Item number 6 is a motion on notice from me that we need to review our climate and biodiversity strategy.
I'm sorry, I'm leaving the meeting. I'm not prepared to go through this undemocratic process that you are adopting. The undemocratic process that Penrith Town Council is adopting.
It is pathetic.
I know you are.
Good night. Right, okay, motion on notice, number 6, review of climate and biodiversity strategy. Ian helped me put together the motion, and there's quite a lot of information in there, but in summary, I think we're all very well aware that we, some time ago, agreed that we needed to declare a climate and biodiversity emergency, and we created a strategy which, due to a number of different things, including COVID, has kind of fallen a little bit by the wayside. Things have moved on since then. A number of new things have happened, some good, some bad, and a number of other organisations around Penrith have got involved in various things. And it's possible that some of the stuff that we planned to do has now been preempted. So, but basically, the idea of this motion is that that we review where we're at, review what we plan to do and what has already been done from that list, and then work out a strategy to move forward. So I'm moving the motion. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. So any questions, comments? Councillor Jensen?
Yes, Chair. Just one thing. Is there a big overlap with the existing partnership? I'm just wondering.
I think there's clear lines.
Is there?
It's clear lines.
It's at the risk of ending up with a similar kind of discussion to the one that we had with the last motion. I think at some point during our discussion about what we have and what we haven't done, we might say, oh look, we've got a task and finish group that's covering that bit. And then that'll just be a tip. There's lots of other things that we aren't doing yet.
No worries.
I have one very small, possibly picky, it may be a typo. In proxies to meetings, it says members will nominate a proxy. sure it should say May. It's a silly little thing, but I wouldn't expect people to have to nominate a proxy.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's all I'm in favour otherwise.
Councillor Bergen.
If the motion is passed tonight, will the 4 councillors to be appointed to the group be elected tonight?
I think Ian and I are quite keen to do that.
That will be the intention, actually, yeah.
So we can just keep things moving forward. Councillor Dunn?
I just want to say thank you for the map. It's quietly terrifying, but I think really one of the great ideas about doing this is that we need to not just consolidate previous agreements, but be reminded and think much more seriously. And I think that's kind of like what's hit me as I read this.
Councillor Nash?
I'm sorry if this has been said, I left the room for a few seconds and I didn't catch the first that discussion for obvious reasons, but there's an interface here between some of the work that's been going on in the other task group, and I wonder how we manage that interface. And the other thing is, I think it would be valuable to get the people onto this committee, the councillors that have done the climate certificates, a few councillors that took last year about climate change, because obviously they've been through a process that's given them access to that, and the organisation, my head's a little bit, what's it called?
Or was it CAS?
No, CAS, sorry, thank you. Yeah, they've got a climate change website, which is a really good resource as well, and maybe they'll be good to get involved because they seem to be taking the lead on this.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments?
There's a typo at the bottom of page 27. Representatives from local industry and business. Sorry.
Okay, so in that case we just need to vote on it. So all those in favour? Anybody against?
As such, then, can we invite nominations? We've got 4 councillors in the terms of reference, so do we have 4? We've got Danny, no.
There's a lot of people.
He's got you volunteering as well.
I haven't had
Got half.
Can't do.
So of those 4, who's done the training? I haven't done it yet either, so we need
I stopped being a councillor for a little while, so
I did it not the council.
Is everybody happy with those 4? Quick show of hands.
When 4 was it? Sorry.
Councillor Jackson, Councillor Woodall, Councillor Smith, Councillor Nance.
Yeah, everyone happy? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to routine business. Reports from members, and also from me. I'm an member as well. Very brief update from me this time. I have attended a meeting of something called Talking Tables last Thursday, which was the inaugural meeting of Talking Tables at the parish rooms opposite the parish church. The group has been set up to combat loneliness. It came about as a result of COVID and everybody being kind of locked up. And they have now 2 meetings in Penrith, one on a Monday at 10:30 at Booth's Cafe, and one on a Thursday in the parish rooms at the same time, 10:30. It's an hour, they have a table, anybody can go, and it's just a great place to go and kind of meet other people and have a chat. It's been very successful. The people that set it up originally were based in Lancashire, and they've recently won an award from, I think it was from BBC Radio Lancashire. They had a little plaque that they'd been given. I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I had a great time while I was there, and I've already made some new friends, so that was great. And the other thing is just to mention something that I'd done just a couple of days before our last meeting, but I hadn't had time to kind of get my head around it. But I've been to UCC, Oswald Community College, to hand out some awards to their mental health champions. Again, another fantastic initiative that Mr. Gilby, the head, commissioned. It's run by one of the teachers. All of the children who volunteered were given a load of training, and they're basically there as an opportunity for somebody to talk to. So if as a student, if you've got an issue that you don't want to talk to a teacher about, you don't feel like you can talk to your parents about, then you know that there's somebody else there that you can just go and talk to, and they're kind of completely impartial. It's been very successful, and I spoke to the lady who did all of the training materials for them, and she's hoping that they will carry on for another year, because they've just got to the end of the first year. It's been very successful. But as I say, I hadn't really had a chance to kind of get my brain in gear to mention that at the last one of our meetings. But that's me. Anybody else got any reports? Any members? Councillor Kenyon?
I'm not actually. I think it's indicative of going against those who weren't elected for the voting system, but having been put out to the nation or the town that I'm here, some people realise I'm here. So they've been not bombarding it, but certainly I think I've been contacted quite a lot by the residents. First one, Councillor Bell mentioned about the town bus service, and contacted by residents in McAdam Way. I went up there, suddenly found there's about 30 of them, and got some pictures, had a good discussion. I think things are happening in the background. Actually went round on the bus on the town, and it was amazing where it went. It was managed, I think it was 55 minutes. It's the programme time to get round the town. Didn't quite make that because of the wheelchair that we got on and off in that time, and it's real squeeze and whatever. So, but I think it's raised that issue, and I think quite hopefully the town council will be involved in discussions with Westland and Furness and NBM and whoever for the future. Overhanging trees, so when we contacted with overhanging trees, it seems walking down the street and you've got these trees hanging over the garden. Partly it's the responsibility of the landowner to do that, to cut those trees back and not push people into the road. Val and myself have been round the town photographing all the listed buildings in the town. We've done most of them now, and this has been passed on to us to deal with. So probably that'll be coming out later. Also the signage, you've seen the sign pictures which went round the town. I thought I got them all. I sort of saw another one. So there's other parts about that. Police station, someone contacted. Police station Hunter Lane is now open, and it's there's a sort of sign there, but it doesn't sort of shout that it's open, it doesn't actually give you any opening times. And it was mentioned about, so I went in there and the lady was going to pass it to the person, nothing's happened yet. So we just do a better signage just to say we are open, and when they are open. And then the other one that someone went to the opening of the tennis courts at Castle Park, which was excellent to see.
Luckily dry.
Yes.
An hour later it wouldn't have been. I was there.
Yes, Chair, I attended Zoom meetings of the Rural Services Network. One was before the town meeting, so it didn't get reported then. I can't remember now what it was about. The last one was about affordable housing in rural areas, but I didn't feel that they covered the subject quite fully. But unfortunately, this one on rural transport, but I would like to. So.
Councillor Jackson?
Hi, I just wanted to say that Councillor Snell and myself walked around Castletown about 10 days ago, and referring to Councillor Bell's update about 20 mile an hour, I think there will be a lot of support for 20 mile an hour limits in Castletown. And also one resident said that she would like us to look at one of these, you know, on Beacon Edge, where you drive down Beacon Edge and it flashes up 29 miles or something. Yeah, she suggested that might be quite nice on the road going past the Beacon house.
Councillor Jackson.
May I make a comment or observation or question based on that report?
Yes.
Do we still have the movable seat.
We don't have a movable seat.
Oh, I thought we had a movable seat.
No.
Shame. Oh well.
We planted it.
Councillor Nags.
I was wondering what I just raised, what do people do when people in places that you're not their ward councillor start raising with you about issues in their ward? Particularly if you don't live in the ward, you live in another ward, because there's a few that has been raised with me, which everybody will know about usually, apart from the fact that a number of people have talked about these white lines on roads wearing out at important places where it's now confusing. One of the places, I can't remember the name of it now, it's up there where you turn left.
Upper Fragate,
yeah.
Lane, yes. Yeah. It's completely worn out.
Yeah, and people who don't know, because it is a turn where you have a right of way to go left, people are confused. That was one example, and I think that actually might be in the ward that
it is.
Another one was a funny one, I thought, but funny in a tragic way. I had somebody very concerned about what the car park at Sainsbury's, whether it was the right type of concrete or not. And I think I was able to reassure them that it was built much later than when that concrete was used. I've been to my first residents meeting in the area that I live, the Scores residents meeting, which was interesting. And I went also to the Castle Park opening of the tennis thing, which I thought was very good, and lots of people there despite the rain, which eventually came torrentially, but it was a good turnout, and the park's looking better than it was, even if it is more, the poor areas are now in sharp contrast with the good areas. So it would be good to continue with some development there, but it was a very good session.
On the subject of lines missing and other problems with the roads, I'm trying to look directly at the camera now for the benefit of our viewers. Highways have a very good portal. Westmoreland, if you look for roads on Westmoreland and Furness Council's website, the highways have a portal for reporting these things. You can, if your mobile phone is capable of doing it, I think you can even locate exactly where you are on the map when you report it, and they will send a team out to have a look at it and get it fixed if they can, or find another solution. And you can get it all the details emailed back to you, so you can get a report.
Yeah. If people want to do that, that would be good. We have raised a number of issues about road lines directly with the highways manager.
Financial report.
Yes.
So I attended the meeting of Eden Valley Rural Transport, and amongst other reports pertaining to transport around the area, one that particularly of interest to Penrith is the 563 bus service, which is continuing over winter until April at least, and the Saturday service, which I know our officers do excellent work liaising with and helping fund, is very close to being commercially viable, and that's a service that runs all day from Appleby to Penrith on Saturday. So very interesting stuff, especially when it comes to funding. Even Locality Board and other funding sources have money set aside, but as ever these things are under pressure, and the sheer number of things that might want to be done with that money. So I think a lot more partnership working between organisations to help look at buses would be very useful.
Councillor Donald?
Well, I'm just on the subject of mental health. I've been attending quite regularly meetings and courses with the Recovery College, which is like a peer support mental health organisation that's based in Wilkington, but it's now based up to 4 days a week at Newton Rig at the old campus, and they're doing some really fantastic work. Usually about 6-week courses on various things from resilience to finding hope and decider skills. I'm trying to get them to think about applying to the council for some funding. They've been struggling quite a bit at the moment for Eden funding, and that's something that I really hope that we could help with.
Thank you. Councillor Holden?
Yeah, it's not about anything I've attended, it's just a comment from the Herald. I noticed that in the letters Jeremy Godwin had made a comment about the public right of way that we thought we had between Great Dock Way and New Squares has been gave it up basically, padlocks, gates. And I've just wondered what was happening. He said 20-year or more use and it should become a public right of way. And it has been accessible, I'm sure, for 20 years or more. And I don't know about his facts, but that might be one to follow up.
Chair, that's something we've raised with officers at Westmoreland and Furness. They were going to look into it and come back and let us know
It
what
would
was
have been
happening.
useful to know that you were doing something about it, actually.
We've just done it
Today.
well, not today, but we have just recently spoken to the officer.
I've also been talking to officers about that cut through along the 2 lines, and I think it would qualify for right of way, but there's an argument that it maintaining it might jeopardise other projects in the area, and it's an important question to ask whether the public should have to lose a bit of amenity in the town to allow other projects to take place. I think we should, that's a conversation that should be had possibly with consultation, wider consultation with the community on that issue.
Yeah, just 2 very brief things. One is I attended a PACT meeting a couple of months ago, something like that. And out of that came a discussion about approaching supermarkets for installation of solar canopies and EV charge points. So I've gone to 3 supermarkets so far and established tentative contact via the CEO to individuals that potentially help. I'm going to approach the remaining, I think it's 2 or 3. And once we've got some sort of semblance of all together, I can give them names and contacts, etc. And secondly, Charlie and my good self are still waiting to get a meeting with Amiga Proteins.
Technical meeting.
A technical
meeting, yeah. Councillor Logan?
Yes, just a late declaration really, and then, because I was approached by a resident about this particular thing that Councillor Holden's referred to, but I actually met Jeremy Godwin in the street last week on Tuesday. He said he was putting this letter in, so and I was understanding that Councillor Jackson was pursuing it on other measures, so I didn't want to say things.
Amongst all of this conversation, I've just realised that I didn't mention one other meeting that I went to last week as well, actually, which was the meeting of the Cumbria Wildlife Trust, Cold Springs Trust. For those that don't remember, Cold Springs is the group of fields along the back of Carlton that was bequeathed to Cumbria Wildlife Trust, and they are in the process of turning it into a nature reserve. They have got now some fairly substantial plans of things that they want to do, some of which will need to go to planning at some point in the not too distant future. They've got some local businesses that have helped out with some things. There's going to be an accessible path along the back edge, but just down from Beacon Edge, and they've been in discussions with various people that use mobility scooters and things in the area, so they've got some idea of what's required. And there'll be gated access at the bottom as well, which will allow you another accessible path. They are hoping to have enough stuff done potentially to be able to open part of it up towards the end of this year, possibly around about October, but that's all very provisional at this stage. But yeah, it's exciting. Good stuff happening. Lots of tree planting and things. Anybody else? Any report? No? Okay. Item 8 then is the resolutions report. So that's an item to note. Again, black and white copy, colour, the dark colours are not all completed. The 2 lighter coloured in the status box are ongoing by staff team. So that is St Andrew's print and some part to staffing matters that we discussed previously. But all these have been completed, they're put into work. Just ignored. Everyone happy to know that?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Item 9 is Finance Committee. I need to ask you to ratify items A to E following as approved recommendations from the Council's Finance Committee from their meeting on the 18th of September. Members are asked to note that these matters have been considered and approved by the members of the Council's Financial Committee and the committee chair. and the committee chair has requested the matters be brought to full council for ratification. So we've got items A to E, which I'm suggesting that we ratify en masse. I'll ask somebody to second that. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Any questions on items A to E? Councillor Hull?
Just a few. 11B, fair playing field, it talks about the tree liability survey and looking, check for any defects. Is that all the trees on the field, or is it those that existed before United Utilities?
It's all mature trees, a survey by our tree contract every 3 years, so the next one's due this month as an audit run, and we get a risk assessment and a management plan following their inspection report.
Okay, so it's everything.
So it's all the trees.
All the trees, right. Very good. Put it all with trees. And it's just a little thing in my head. See, page 48, the internal, scope of the internal audit. On income, it includes the word burials, which I don't think we're in charge of at all. And is it just a generic what councils might do?
Yeah, I'll check that with the
Or is
auditor.
it something we
We're not
should-
responsible for burials.
No, I didn't think we were.
It'd be a generic framework taken from the AGAR audit template. So I'll.
So it's a generic sort of thing, but delete burials, please. Oh yeah, it was another thing. The bandstand hire policy, page 56, insurance, public liability certificate, says the council. I just feel when we talk about the council and the sentence immediately above that it talks about Westminster and Furness Council, can we please just qualify it's Penrith Town Council?
What is it?
Sorry, it's page 56 under insurance.
In the Town Council policy, the reference to Westminster Furness simply refers to the.
Yeah, it's just when I read it, I thought, oh, which council are we talking about?
I would suggest it's.
You've highlighted to the council because that's.
There's a change, is that if a 10 notice is required, the policy says that applicants who have previously contacted the district council or the licensing authority remain to Westminster Furness Council because they still are the licensing authority.
Yeah.
So the details in the policy for any prospective hirers to make their inquiries Westminster Furness, but ultimately the policy is a Penrith Town Council policy.
Yeah, it was the insurance bit you're required to provide a company public liability to the council.
That's us, yeah.
Do we need to put in there it's the town council or is it just sort of taken, a given?
I wouldn't say so personally, given that it's the Penrith Town Council.
But just reading it through and I got distracted, looked at Westminster there, so they needed below it's the council. Okay. I think that might be it. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favour of ratifying items A to E? Thank you. Anyone against? Okay, that's that passed. And we've just got one more bit of that. So item F is the external audit. Can I ask councillors to receive and approve the external auditor's report, noting that the council's external auditors law have signed off the accounts ending the 31st of March 2023 with no qualifications. The first time I read that, I thought, why have we got an external auditor with no qualifications? But I now realise that in fact that just means that there was nothing in there that they said we needed to change. It's that kind of qualification. So I'm going to propose that we accept the report. Can I have a second? Thank you, Charlie. Anybody got any questions on the report?
Can I make one comment?
Yes.
It is very unusual that an external auditor doesn't find something to try and justify his fee. And this is a very, very good word for our organisation. To get a thing like this without any comment is a credit to the people in this organisation who've done the work. Absolutely. I'd like to say that. Absolutely. And will you please record that? Thank you.
Charlie's beat me to it, do it every year, and we record our thanks to the officers, but as ever being excellent.
But these things are like rocket horse.
Everybody happy to accept that then?
Yeah.
Show of hands. Thank you. Okay. Just to note as well, that to comply with the Accounting Audit Regulations 2015, the Council has published on its website sections 1 and 2 of the annual return, the annual governance statement and the summary accounts, together with the audit certificate, section 3. That almost feels like that was from camera as well. I didn't look at the camera. Okay, item 10, Planning Committee. We need to appoint 2 new councillors to serve on the Planning Committee. Any nominations?
I'm there already.
I would like to nominate Councillor Meggs to a position on the Planning Committee.
I would like to nominate myself.
Can I second both of you?
Yeah. Is there anybody else that's interested in planning? No? Okay. Is everybody happy for myself and Councillor Meggs to join the Planning Committee? Thank you.
As Chair of the Planning Committee, I welcome you both.
Can I
You're
just
packing
say-
with your friends, are you?
Can I just say the agenda for next
All
week's
my
planning
friends,
committee was sent out today, so you'll have it in your inbox.
Thank you.
I just say I had a conversation about it and I got it, I got your response, you're on holiday, but I haven't got your email with the attachment. But it's sent.
Yeah.
I got it obviously sent because you supplied to it.
It does the same for mine.
It does
the same for mine.
applies, but not the original email.
It happens sometimes. If you get any more by,
It was on my Surface Pro,
Yeah.
on my Outlook.
I think it's the new Outlook.
Yes.
The format of the new Outlook inbox. If you click on, if you click on the email, there's a little tiny arrow just on the where the list of
It
emails.
layers them.
Yeah, it layers. It just layers them
So you
all.
only see the most recent.
So if you look at your emails,
Yeah.
like a big long.
Yes, the big long list.
Yes.
Right.
If you click on one of them, there's more than one email, there's a little tiny arrow on it. You just click on that little arrow.
Right, 'cause I saw Rosie's, email content, but not the attachment.
Yeah.
So I have to
It's a
use
horrible
arrow.
system.
Oh, right, okay.
We'll write stern letters to Bill Gates.
it's not just email.
Okay, we're getting towards the end now, folks, so we need to push on. So item 11 is grants. You may remember that a while back we agreed that any grants would come to full council.
Yeah, I think it's 13.
13.
It's Ian's fault.
It isn't the actual, you can't read.
Under the bus.
And the next one's right as well.
Oh, I've got them on. Look, it says 11. Look, I've got a different set of numbers. Ian and I talked about it before the meeting.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to hand over to Ian for background on this one.
Yeah, so this is the grants report. So it's twofold. So it's to note the grants awarded from the grants budget. As you can recall, Council approved the revised grants policy for Council in March this year, 27th of March. Amongst other things, it's delegated decision making for the grants to officers. So I'm reporting since our last meeting, we've awarded one further grant to the Penrith Swift Group, £195 towards a Swift Conservation Community event which is happening in November. The second element of the grant report is asking for ratification and decision of officers on 2 grants. The first one is Eden Arts Trust. They've applied to the council for £5,000 towards the Interdroven event this year. Following an officer appraisal and review of the grant application, we're recommending a grant of £5,000. And if you can recall, we also agreed with the signature events that we would approve or consider the principle of the grant being awarded for the term of council, subject to the grant applicant meeting terms of the service level agreement. So the recommendation for you is to ratify the decision of officers towards signature event grant of £5,000 Eden Arts towards this year's Interdroven event, and also approve the principle of the annual grant to Eden Arts for the same value for the same event, subject to the terms of a service level agreement across the term of council. I'll go on to the next one, is the second application we received for signature events is from pending, but we've brought it tonight, so we're asking members to ratify the decision of office towards an in principle signature event grant to the Penrith Business Improvement District. They're currently planning for the Christmas light switch on event. Now, given that the bid were late into office this year after the re-vote, they've had a lot of work on organising themselves ready for the Christmas lighting event. So there isn't another full council meeting prior to the light switch on, which is scheduled for the 18th of November. So asking for an ratification award in principle tonight, subject to the applicant providing all the required information to the satisfaction of officers. Now, officers, there's myself, Carol, John and Lewis, who meet as a grants panel, and we rigorously review each grant applications that come in, we score them and evaluate them, and basically return the information back to the applicant if it's incomplete. So by awarding an in principle approval tonight allows us to progress to an award should they submit all the required information correctly prior to the event date, speeding up the process. And again, approve the principle of an annual grant for the same value for the same event for the term of council. So there's 3 recommendations. One is to note, and then the next 2 are to ratify the decision of office.
So I'm gonna move that we ratify these. I have a seconder. First of all, Councillor Haggs, did you have a question?
I do have a little question, but I was particularly happy with the second.
No, that's fine. Go ahead with the question as well.
Okay, it was just that I'm a little worried that the signature grants is a new fund, and I can't think of another organisation that would be applying at this stage, and I wonder at what stage of the year could we review the state of the unspent money, the 10,000, in order perhaps to allocate it to the smaller grants budget, so that which I think stands more chance of being allocated.
Yeah, so currently we've got an uncommitted balance in the grant fund of 6505, and then in the signature events, should these 2 go as per recommendation, with 10k left in uncommitted. I think we may be expecting one further one for the town event from the Lions, but we're not envisaging another town event to come forward, so maybe through the budget review there may be some uncommitted balance in that budget, potentially a payment into the grants budget, which is actually receiving applications. Would be a solution.
Would that be a matter for finance committee initially?
Yeah. So that would be separate.
Any other questions?
Sorry, just one tactical question. If the grant is if there's still money left at the end of the financial year within the pot, does it use it or lose it? Or no, it's not.
It's our money.
It goes into reserve.
Okay.
So what we'll try to do is just promote the grant scheme as much as we can, so we can uptake on applications. At the moment we're on schedule in terms of grants awards at the time of the year for the budget we have. Yeah. We're expecting a balance in the signature events grant.
Just a thought, would those grant budgets be sort of interchangeable if there's something that's left in
potentially
the grant budget?
Because if there was pressure on the grant budget and perceived underspending, the signature events we can buy it once to
the other one
which will bolster the one for community groups.
But that would have to go through the council.
It's
not within the officers' free will.
It's fine.
Any other questions? Everybody happy to note/ratify? All those in favour? Thank you. Right, item the next is the Borderlands update. Councillors asked to note the Borderlands update and the wayfinding and interpretation research and assessment report, which desperately needs some kind of acronym. Councillors are asked to give delegated authority to an economic development officer to invite quotations to a contractor to prepare a design. And I'm going to hand over to the economic development officer now, who is going to tell us all about it.
As you know, as part of the Borderlands Partnership Inclusive Growth Deal, we have had the opportunity to put together a project whereby we can review and come up with a cohesive plan for the town centre with interpretation and wayfinding. We've done extensive research helped by two councillors, thank you, Alan and Ron, and we've reviewed all the interpretation we have at present in the town centre and identified a need to renew it, refresh it, to come up with a new design. So we've got all the background information now. As part of the ability to draw down that funding, we have to put together a business case. For that, we need to have a designer, I'm not a designer, to look at the project, to come up with a plan, to come up with some costings, which can then we can then put forward with the business plan, and potentially draw down the funding to renew all of the interpretation. We're not just looking at the sort of the set standard interpretation. We've been looking at different ways of doing it. So whether it be an app, whether it be sort of immersive interpretation, we've yet to fully sort of explore that.
So I'm going to propose this one. I'll have a second then. Thank you, Councillor.
I just wanted a quick question.
Questions, yeah?
Yeah, super bit of work, absolutely great. I'm just wondering, is there a room within the next phase to maybe get the schools, the children, to propose a logo for this thing?
There is. This will come out as part of the conversations we have with the designer. But in parallel to this, we're also looking at branding, and that would be something that would be sort of built into all of this as well, sort of reinforcing that image of Penrith.
Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah. A recommendation: quotations from a contractor and appoint a preferred contractor. Selection of contractor. Criteria, please. Sorry. Procurement is an old chestnut of mine.
Yes, also quotation would be I'll prepare a brief to invite priced quotations and to appoint a preferred contractor.
So it's not going to directly go into a contractor, you'll be inviting
No.
multiple contractors.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, it's
Yes,
just the
no.
reading of this. It says to prepare a design, to quotations for a contractor. Okay, fine, from memory. Okay, fine, thank you much. That clarifies it, I'm happy.
Any other questions? Councillor Bowen?
In response really to Councillor Jason's comment, I take your point about involving local schools, but when I have looked at other places, I think all of them had the appropriate council signage, logo as it were. I was thinking quite a lot of the stations on the Carlisle to Settle line have a welcome to wherever, and it says wherever town council. I don't know if we want to be
I think
branded
it's
with it.
part of that, the branding which we've already sort of looked at is reinforcing the image and using the streetscape logo that we have for the town council, but then how we can use that with many stakeholders and how it can be used in, as I say, reinforcing that image, because it's something that is identifiable.
Thank you.
And one of my concerns is, from my professional background, is inspired by that it worries me that we haven't been able to engage effectively with young people as a town council, and other councils and other organisations find it very difficult as well. And I think if we do engage them, it has to be over something a little bit more serious than the logo. I mean, I'm not criticising the idea of the logo, but it's very late to go to young people and say design a logo when we haven't involved them in the whole Borderlands process, or what they would like to see the town centre look like, what they see the issues are, what they see the important developments as the future citizens of this town to be. So I just think it's a reminder that, you know, perhaps we should look again, because at one point we were going to have a youth officer attached to the town council, a post, And that's, I can't remember what happened to that, but there was obviously a good reason it didn't happen. But I think we do need to look more about involving young people and enabling them to have a say in the future of the town.
Councillor
Yeah, just with the contractors, so hopefully they'll use us. What this is the one thing. I think they're sure they are.
Yeah.
It's down the table and elsewhere in the town.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks. I got a bit involved in all of this, I'm afraid, so bear with me. Yeah, excellent piece of work, very, very in depth, like all the photographs and things, just explaining how visible some of those signs are now that were wonderful when they came in. Just one or two things. Yeah, just the on page 93 particularly, you've got inclusivity. Is this coming to the Borderlands, this report?
No, that's a report that I've done for us. So that will be used as a background document for the designers.
Yeah.
So all the points I put in there about inclusivity and how things are made more, people are more aware of the it's all part of the document that we're discussing with the designers.
Right. Yes. So you've got inclusivity twice on page 93. The system was catered to the needs of all users.
Yes.
So omit one of those. And page 94 talk about contrast on the sign. And going back to inclusivity, I really do think we should be looking at dyslexia friendly fonts, colours, anything like that. Yeah. Even if it's a subtle bit, but you do need to flag that up for accessibility.
I have referred to that in there in that university.
Not here. Dyslexia.
Not dyslexia as in per se, but the ability for different people of different.
You did, but I'd like to see dyslexia mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's important that contrast. I worked in libraries, I am very much aware how children and adults, struggle with this background colours and things. So, just as a bit of a thorn in your side, you mentioned dog-friendly venues at all in any of this? Or are we steering clear of all of that?
I haven't mentioned it in that report at all.
Right, so dog-friendly and maybe cycle-friendly,
we
storage
talk about
or something like that.
wayfinding as part of the working with the LC WIP, so obviously that will be part of that.
It will be part of that, okay. And obviously the digital aspect of it.
Yes.
Really was a lot of maintenance to keep it absolutely up to speed, and that was really, I would expect, quite expensive to, have somebody dealing with it all the time.
This is why we need this report, and obviously there'll be ongoing costs involved.
Right, I'll shut up now because there's lots of little bits, but you don't know, you really don't. Okay, thank you.
I just mention that from when we first heard about the safety park, I spoke to quite a few people, and I've got 5 people across the kind of accessibility needs range who are interested in helping in consultation from like mobility through to neurodivergence. So I could give you their names.
Yeah, we mentioned that as part of when we engage the designers, obviously their input's going to be benefit for that.
Somebody said, well, it's not something we would necessarily want to know in Penrith, but it's there for the visitors who might need it.
Absolutely. And it's that different layers of interpretation. My background's interpretation, so it's the different layers of interpretation and how you can access that and how people with different sort of needs can access that effectively.
Councillor Bailey. Yeah, thanks. I see fellow councillors looking at his watch, so perhaps we can make it brief. There's the rather grandly named wayfinding and interpretation research and assessment. Page 85, since we've been specific. On the top 2 items, build confidence and trust to walk and environmental effects. Just running the content there, would it be appropriate at this time to consider a traffic-free town centre?
That isn't part of what this project's about.
And possibility of park and ride?
Again, that isn't really what this report's about. This is just looking at interpretation and signing. So So that might be something that comes up as part of work that's been done elsewhere.
Right, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, just a reminder then, we are voting to note the report and also to give delegated authority to Carol to invite quotations for the contract, prepare a design. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Right, so item, all right, okay, that just brings us to the next meeting, which is on Monday the 20th.